So are you guys ready to go straight into part 2 of this video? Because I have pretty big bins and they're full of yarn stuff and projects. So I'm still filming this on Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. My name is Jenny. Welcome to Granny Square Peg. This is random yarn bin number 7. And we are up to some random granny squares. Because what do you do when you got leftover yarn? You make little squares, and then once you get enough squares, you make a blanket, right? So, this is one of the neon colors from Red Heart Super Saver. It is 2 rounds of a granny with 1 round of single crochet. And I've got 1, 2, and you'll forgive me, I'm pulling off cat fur as I go. 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 of them in whatever color this is called, because off the top of my head, I cannot remember what it's called. Because they did this neon, and then they did this one. This one's called Blacklight. That I can remember. Oh. Dayglow? Maybe this one's called Dayglow. Oh, and I can tell you right, like this square here was made with, I can tell how tight it is because it's curling every time I sit it down. So I used a smaller hook for it, probably to play around with sizing. I don't like how tight this came out, so I probably used a G and then moved to an H for everything else. I know the camera probably can't pick it up too much, but you can see the size difference here. This one comes out a little bit. Right? So, between a G and an H, I really preferred the H. So yeah, 6 of those in that color. It's a beautiful color. I mean, I like neon colors. I just like a lot of color. I don't like just one simple, dull and boring color. Like, I have a few of those in there. So yeah, if I remember, this one's called Blacklight. And so again, it's 2 rounds of a granny and then 1 round of single crochet. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, I do have other projects that have these 2 colors in it, so this is probably what I had left over. I made a waffle stitch blanket because I also mixed this with solid colors. I think my nephew Caleb has one with these colors. Yeah, I don't know. Alright, so there's some granny squares in this bin. And there are some solid colors, like this pale yellow, blue, the red. And these are made with all different size hooks, but not different size yarn. Yeah, I think I was playing around with sizing and gauge and tension. So a mustard yellow, kind of gold, a bright red, purple, and another red. Sort of red, sort of pink. Some dusty Victorian rose pink. Some dark burgundy or merlot. Light shade of purple. Green. Actually, I've got 2 of the green. Blue. And a teal. So it'd be nice, because in random yarn bin number 3 or number 6 had a pile of squares. So it'd be nice to get them all together. Hopefully by the time I'm done all this, I'll have enough squares to make like a patchwork blanket. That'd be nice, right? So there's a bunch of squares. And it'll be all different yarn companies. It'll be whenever I had anything little left over. Oh my goodness. Oh, my brain works so fast with the projects and my hands just do not work fast enough. Forgive me for all the cat fur that's on these. There are 3 black granny squares, right? It's 2 rounds, and they're done join as you go. And then there is a square of gray and a square of red, because for this one I was practicing the method of joining as you go. I really don't like it. I mean, it's quick, but it doesn't feel natural to me because I grew up learning how to crochet my squares together or whip stitching them together, so that's more natural for me. So I really didn't like this, but I didn't want to take it out either. So there's a sample of doing join as you go, and it is so full of cat fur. Little bits of some red left over. Okay. Let's do this one. Okay. When my kids were babies, they liked walking around with blankets, little security blankets. They called them blankies. They called them snuggle buddies. They had all kinds of different names for them. I have one somewhere that is all blue for my oldest child. This one is pink and white for my second child. And this one is pink, blue, and green and white for my third child, right? They are made out of 100% cotton. It is cotton from Peaches and Cream and Lily and Cream, okay? I made them little security blankets. And I get to keep these forever and ever and ever. They should be in, I have a keepsake bin for when my kids were babies. Why they're not in a keepsake bin, I'm not quite sure. Now, I don't have the blue one from my oldest child. It is probably somewhere else. It would have been a smaller hook because I wanted it tighter stitches, so an E or an F. Even though the cotton is a number 4 medium weight, I went with a smaller hook, and it hurt my hands. I remember my hands hurting tremendously by the time I was done with this. I did 1 row of double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of single, a row of double, 4 rows of single, a row of double. And I also, in here, mixed a little bit of plain old white. Like these rows here is just plain old white. So my kids walked around using these as little security blankets, little blankies. And then I used everything I had left over on the border. The border is single crochet, double, and then 3 or 4 more single crochet. So there we go. That's number 1 for baby number 2. This is for baby number 3. But I remember in my last video I told you guys, always lay your projects out and check the edges, because you can always add stitches. And if you see here, I added stitches. There is more stitches at the end of this than there are at the beginning, because somewhere along the line I stopped counting. So good reminder. See that? But, you know, when you have your mistakes, celebrate them, laugh at them, laugh at yourself, and then rip it out and keep right on going. I didn't rip it out. I just left it as it was because my baby didn't mind at all. So, there we go. There's my third one. I mean, my second one in this pile. But even though my hands hurt because the yarn is so thick for cotton, and for being a number 4 weight, a couple years later, I actually made another one to use as a placemat on the table with these bright colors, because I needed some bright colors in my life. So, 100% cotton from Peaches and Cream or Lily and Cream. Again, done with 1 row of double crochet, and this one's got 3 rows of single. So there's the variegated color, and then a ball of plain old yellow, and a ball of the variegated. The border is not as deep on this one because I ran out of yarn, so it's just plain old yellow and a single crochet. But cotton's nice and soft. I like the cotton. So that is in random yarn bin number 7. Aren't they cute? I think they're cute. Okay. Ah, yes. I told you I do these little samples, right? Well, here's another little sample made with some blue. And let's see, what kind of note did I write to myself? The hook I used was an I. April 5th, 2017. I was working on the foundation single crochet, and then I learned how to do that. Foundation single crochet is pretty neat. And then I did a single crochet, a double crochet, and a double crochet in the same stitch. Yes, I did. Single crochet in the same stitch. It gives you this slanted stitch. So then when you come back on the next row, you do your single crochet, your double crochet in the single crochet of the previous row. Yes, and then I used this stitch on a blanket that I used variegated yarn for, so I'm looking forward to finding that one. And then this is because I was teaching somebody in my house how to crochet, and it's just their first chain that they ever did. So that needs to go in my keepsake bin too, because while they learned how to chain, they never really picked up the habit of crocheting, which is fine. But, you know, I'm a sentimentalist, so I keep that. Alright. What else is in here? More samples. Oh! Okay. I think the second video I did for this channel and put up on YouTube, it was my Caron cakes blankets, and I created a pattern, and this is one of the samples I made while I was doing the pattern to work out my numbers, where I do 3 single crochets in a chain space, kind of like you do with a granny square, but I did it in rows, and it makes for a very, I don't know, it gives it kind of like when you pull the blanket apart, like you stretch it out a little bit, gives it like a checkered look. So you'll see 3 single crochets in that chain space, and then you do a chain space, and then you do 3 single crochets in the chain space, right? Kind of like a moss stitch, or the linen stitch, but with more stitches. So this was my sample that I was working on in the numbers to make sure that the beginning of the row and the end of the row made sense, because those sometimes are your most important stitches, the first stitches and the last stitches. So that was my sample on working up the numbers. Someday I think I'd like to take all my samples and put them into a blanket. It'd be kind of neat. Okay. One of the Crochet Along is one of the groups I belong to on Facebook. We did a square that is just all single crochets, and then you take yarn and your darning needle and you do cross stitch and create a pattern, and this was my sample. So I did a heart. Oh, that came out so pretty. I never actually did the Crochet Along itself. It was a scarf. They made a scarf, I think. And I'm not big on scarves or shawls or cowls or anything that goes up around my neck. I don't like it. But I did have fun practicing along with them on learning how to do cross stitch on single crochet. So that was my sample. I did have fun doing this. This is the back side where you tie off all your knots. But yeah, I got a little heart as my sample. That was fun. I'll try to remember what crochet along that was. I've done so many since like 2015. Oh, then I wanted to do it in a different color, so I did white with red. Oh, I do not like this at all. I was trying to go for a red heart on a white background. I don't like this at all. The red and the white are not complementary at all, so yuck. Alright, so then this is another way where I do playing with color, and I will sit with my hook and I will chain 15 or 17 or 18, and then I will do single crochets or double crochets, because the pattern doesn't matter. It's just I'm checking to see if the colors work well together. So this is Loops and Threads Impeccable at Michael's. So this is their brick red and their orange and this yellow and the green, and I wanted to see if they worked well together, which I think they do. It gives it a bit of a vintage feel, a little bit brighter than the stuff in the 70s, because the stuff from the 70s was very muted, but I had liked it. So this was just a color sample for me. And then I had done it again without the red and just did the orange, the yellow, and the green, and then I put black through it, and I think black would be a really good complementary color to this. Wow, I had forgotten about this. Yeah. Because see, I was born in the 70s, early in the 70s, so these colors, I grew up with these colors. I think that would make a really good retro-inspired blanket. So, color samples. Do not be afraid to use your yarn to make color samples, to try to figure things out. You're not wasting your yarn when you do that. And then when you're done, you've got all these little samples that you can stitch together and make a blanket out of them. I mean, look at all those samples I pulled out of this bin already. Ah, yeah. It's same for that, my Caron cakes blanket in video number 2. You guys are going to have to go back and watch that one. I was still working out pattern numbers, and I tried a different yarn so I could stretch it out to see what it would look like. And yeah, I got another sample for that too. To see, I was checking to see if it would work with a variegated yarn instead of solid colors, and I think the pattern got a little lost. Now I know this isn't true variegated yarn because it's just white and gray marl, but the pattern got a little lost in there. Yeah, so that's what I was doing. I was checking it out with different yarn colors, different types of colors. I wonder if I have a sample that's just all variegated yarn. Possibly. I don't know. My brain works so fast sometimes. Alright. So I told you in my last blanket video that I've got one more blanket from 2015 that I need to do a video on. And it was a crochet along I did in 2015 from September and October to December. And I don't know the yarns that I used. And while I may not know the yarns that I used, these are the colors. I used this, and 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 this, this, and this. These are the colors in my crochet along. It is probably a mix of Red Heart Super Saver, Impeccable from Loops and Threads at Michael's, maybe some Red Heart with Love, and maybe some Bernat Super Value. I don't know. But these are the colors I used. I was smart enough to put them all in a little sample, but not smart enough to label them with what type of yarn and yarn company I used. I don't know. And I used all of the yarn, so more than likely I don't have the yarn bands, the labels anymore. But there we go. Yeah, you can see pink is probably my favorite color, because it's always in my shirts. Oh my goodness. All the stuff in this bin. Um, It is a shawl. It is called the Road Trip Scarf. I did not make it for myself because I do not wear scarves. It has little flowers with buttons. Another little flower with a button. And another little flower with a button. And it's lacy and it's mesh. And it's in a triangular shape. It is not my pattern. I'm trying to remember the blogger it came from. I do know it's called the Road Trip Scarf. You are supposed to wear it like this and like this and have these pieces come this way and have this piece come this way, and then have these little dangly bits. But as you can tell, I'm not a scarf person because I'm already choking myself, right? But that's how it's supposed to be worn, I'm pretty sure. Once you fiddle with it in the mirror, you know. I made it, I gave it to somebody, they didn't use it, they gave it back to me. There you go. And it's in my bin. And I have no use for it. It was made with Heartland from Lion Brand. It's a good yarn. So, I own it, but I have no idea what to do with it because I'm not a scarf wearer. I have no idea. So, I was making a second one for somebody else and lost interest in making it. Let's see. It is Loops and Threads Wool-like. Oh, this yarn is soft. What is that made out of? "85% acrylic and 15% nylon." This stuff is soft. Color is black. It's a #1 superfine. Oh, Loops and Thread Wool-like. This is some soft yarn. That's wonderful. And I mixed it with this sparkly stuff that was in random yarn bin number 6. Okay. Okay, so there's the black. And then there's that, what was it called? Hold on. Okay, it's called Premier Yarns. It's wool-free lace. Do you remember this from random yarn bin number 6? I have 2 balls of this color and then 2 balls that are the pink with the gray. So this is 88% acrylic, 7% PBT, and 5% metallic. And it's a #1 superfine. So I mixed this with the black to make another road trip scarf for somebody. And I never finished it. Wow, look at that. They go really well together. That black and that the wool-free lace, they called it Sea Sunset. They go really well together. Can you guys see that? They really do. Now, since I have no use for a scarf or a shawl, I think I'm going to rip this out and make something else with it and probably make a blanket with it because they look great together. Oh, that's... I mean, I'm struggling because it's a shawl type thing. And I don't like the shape of it, but my goodness, those colors are fantastic together. They are wonderful together. So I wonder, yeah, I think I'm gonna frog this because this is years and years and years old at this point. And I think I will make a blanket out of it since I've got 2 balls of this color, 2 balls of the pink and the gray. I will just need more of the black from Wool-like from Loops and Threads. Hopefully all these years later they still make this. Because that's fantastic. I love that. Alright. We are almost done. I got random yarn labels in here. Who knows? I'm putting all the yarn labels in a bag because hopefully I'll find projects that they belong to. Alright. Oh, okay. Yeah. More cotton yarn and a little bit of pink. Like, who saved like 12 inches of pink yarn? What am I supposed to do with that? Why can't we as crocheters throw that away? I don't know. Okay, so in this bin, there is a blanket, a BB blanket. It's a granny square. I did not make this. I found this in the thrift store and bought it and brought it home because I just couldn't stand to see it in the thrift store. So, whoever grandmother made this did not do her joins in the corner as we typically do now. She did it here in the middle of a row. So you can see how it goes from the peachy color and then into this green, because what she did was she went up and then went back and then went up and then went back and then went up and then went back. So she would go back and forth like this instead of all the way in the round. So that's why they wind up with this seam. But see, we don't do granny squares like this anymore. We do joining in the corner and go around, okay? It gets rid of this seam, especially when you're doing it with variegated colors, where that seam, you can see it. But either way, I could not leave this baby blanket in the thrift store, so I bought it and I brought it home. I will find a baby to give it to. Same with this one. It was on the shelf next to that one. Oh, and I gotta tell you, I love the color on this. The yarn feels, it's 2 different yarns, because this one is super soft while that one's a little scratchy. And of course, whoever grandmother made this did a solid color for the border. But look how tight those stitches are and how beautifully done they are. So, again, another baby blanket. I couldn't leave it on the shelf. I brought it home. And I think it's made by the same grandma, because I can see the seam right here where she joined it and then went back and joined it and went back. I can see it. I know the camera's probably not picking it up, but I can see it with her stitches. So there's another baby blanket that I didn't make, but we'll find a home for it. Okay. I've got one more blanket in here, but it is a big blanket and I'm not ready to pull it out, so I will come back to you guys later. Okay, so that is it for today's video. This last little bit that's in random yarn bin number 7 is a blanket, and it is a big blanket, and it is fully done. And it was made with cake yarn, but not Caron cakes. It was made with Can't remember what it was off the top of my head. So I showed you a little clip real quick. This is what's in there. This was on the bottom of the bin. So we've been through all the yarn that's in there. I do have yarn tails to sew in on this one. Probably when I did the border. But there's a nice big blanket in there. So that is the last of random yarn bin number 7. So now that I'm done showing it to you guys, I am going to take the Red Heart Super Saver that's in here and put it with the other Red Heart Super Saver that I have. I'm going to put number 3 weight yarn with number 3 weight yarn, and anything that is a random granny square that I have random granny squares in there, I'm going to put them with the ones that I pulled out of random yarn bin number 6, okay? So that's how I'm going to do it, like with like. This way it'll be organized when I'm all done. So I hope you like today's video. It's a process going through these bins, because I bought big bins to put all my stuff in. And they hold a little bit of everything, and it is a bit overwhelming to go through all of it, but I'm doing it, and I'm working hard through it every single day. If you like today's video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd love to chat, and if you like my channel, go ahead and subscribe, because I've got 30 more bins to go through. I've got 50 more blanket projects to go through. I've got books, and I've just got crochet stuff. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.